everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm driving from my home in North Pole to Anchorage. Be traveling about 480 miles. That's 612 kilometers for those of you outside the U.S. Enjoying the beautiful Alaskan landscapes, mountains, snow-capped hills, and beautiful wildlife here in Alaska as I drive, and I have a thought for the day. For those of you that are maybe remember the early years of Christian music, specifically the early years of Christian rock, that would be those people that are still hanging on to life, and you're probably my age. You're probably in your 50s, 60s, or older, and you remember those early years of Christian rock. Well, I want to share a little historical facts here. In 1970, there was an album that came out by a band called Love Song, led by Chuck Girard, well-known name. In fact, the album was called Love Song, as well as the band. I remember listening over and over again to that LP, and I memorized every single song, the lyrics, and that was pretty cutting edge in 1970. And for many decades, I believed what most people believe, that Chuck Girard and this band Love Song actually started the whole Christian rock movement, and then years later found out that that wasn't completely true. Although they did an amazing job of really spreading the concept and the idea of a different genre and a different sound within the Christian community. They actually didn't start the whole movement. So here's the story. In 1968, there were two men who were newly saved, young Christians, got saved out of the hippie movement, and they were fired up about Jesus and wanted to write songs and began to work on lyrics and tunes. And these two musicians, Randy Stonehill and Larry Norman, in 1968, they went to a friend that most of you would know, Pat Boone. And Pat Boone in California at that time had his own private recording studio. They shared their idea with him, and he was open to the idea and wanted to help them out, and he gave them some free studio time, and they came out with the first album in 1968, and they called their genre Jesus Rock. That's when it all started. Now I'm going somewhere with this. Let's focus on Larry Norman. In the 1970s, he had a hit song, Only Visiting This Planet. And that's my thought for the day. That many years ago, and this young Christian who was writing music, writing Jesus rock, and being part of a new genre of Christian music, he understood something, even though he didn't have decades of church and spiritual experience. He understood what the Bible said, and he understood that we were only visiting this planet, that this was never supposed to be a permanent location for us. It was a temporary dwelling. Our life here on this planet is just a vapor. Well, Larry Norman understood that. He understood that this time here is very temporal, very vaporous. It comes and it goes. And And it's that mentality that we still need to have today. We put so much time and money and resources and thought and plans and desires into owning something, making something, grabbing something, even being a part of something, and even building our own name and legacy here on this earth. But how important is that? How important is it to focus on this life and not focus on eternity? We're only visiting this planet. While we're here, what are we doing with the time? What are we doing with the vapor that we've been given? Whatever that is, we don't know. You know, tomorrow's not promised. We don't know what we have. I just recently was at a memorial service in Springfield, Missouri for my mother, and our dear mother passed into eternity. Well, she understood the concept of visiting this planet. She always talked about someday she'll be going home. Home was not a location, a city, a county, a province, a country, even here on this planet. Home was always heavenward. Home was eternity, an eternal location. That's our focus. You know, speaking of legacy, I don't think we have to build it. I think it happens when we're obedient to our purpose, our call in this life. As we're visiting this planet, we make an impact on lives through our obedience to the voice of God, into the call and purpose and gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. Exciting times to be living, and necessary times to be reaching the lost, preaching, reaching, teaching, and discipling the lost so that they might know Jesus and be able to make him known. Love y'all. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Enjoy your journey.